Hi, Bother Brigade. Here's what's bothering me today. So, we need to talk about the Platinum Jubilee for a hot second because it's seemingly, everywhere, right? I see it in promoted ads on Twitter. I see promoted tweets on Twitter. I see some mentions of it on Facebook and Reddit and stuff like that. And you hear about it sometimes on the news. But apparently, that's making the poor little monarchists here in Canada very upset. In fact, they find the whole thing to be very lackluster. Monarchists criticize Canada's lackluster and embarrassing Platinum Jubilee plans. Genuine question for monarchists. Who, other than you limited cabal, actually gives a shit? I am going to get into some of the nitty gritty in a hot second, right? But just on the surface, right? Who actually gives a shit about the Platinum Jubilee other than the people in Britain where the Queen and the royal family spend the overwhelming majority of their time? Sure, wow, Elizabeth has been on the throne for 70 years. That's a very much, marvel of modern achievement thanks to, the modern world being the modern world with all its advances in medicine and technology and such. So, wow, yay, she's been on there for most of a century. How much has she helped really defend democracy, improve the situation for the average Brit, for members of the Commonwealth? I remind people, right, from way back when we had the whole, when we were first discovering the Indigenous graves, and there were statues being toppled across Canada and Catholic churches, being active or not, being burned to the ground. And there were people who were upset, why are they tearing down statues of Queen Victoria and Queen Elizabeth? It's because at the end of the day, they represent their own struggle for honor and dignity and being opposed by the crown. It's the crown that negotiated the treaties. It's the crown that refuses to abide by the treaties. It is the crown that forced, all the terrible awfulness at residential schools. So yeah, no wonder people aren't exactly happy with the monarchy right now, at least here in Canada. The other problem is that, they're so lackluster. Yeah, hey, I don't know if maybe y'all have been paying attention, but it's kind of been 2 years of a pandemic, and there's a lot of inflation going around. And I think the last thing any government wants or needs right now is, after telling people, oh, look, there's not enough money for this stuff, that's why you're not really getting a lot of programs, etc. We know things are very difficult and expensive, but we got your back. I think the last thing to do is to go all out on a series of events because some old lady who lives across the sea likes to occasionally visit sometimes, and she's technically our head of state. Yeah, this is why no one really cares about the monarchy in Canada anymore. It's not relevant. Yes, I know it's a part of our history, but it's not relevant anymore. No one cares about it. No one could possibly justify spending however much millions upon millions of dollars on big Platinum Jubilee events. People would say, why are we doing this? Fund something else. Fund healthcare. Fund public transit. People would want it to be funded for anything else other than a big, good old fucking party for an elderly geriatric lady who has memes about her already being dead, by the way. That would not be a good use of public money during a time of great uncertainty and lack of trust in the people who spend public money. But of course, monarchists wouldn't see this. All they see is the crown and, celebrity and stuff like this. So, again, right, I ask, who legitimately, outside of their cadre of people, gives a shit about the elderly geriatric who stood by silently, because that's her purpose as the head of state, as her representatives around the world, signed into law under her authority, her express authority by virtue of how the system operates. They signed into law terrible, awful things, whether it's anti-LGBTQ legislation in various corners of the Commonwealth that aren't the white Commonwealth realms, whether it's, the 60s scoop. She was queen when that happened, right? She basically gave assent to that happening. All the various, problems with not obliging and honoring the trees. She basically assents. to that. So forgive me if I'm not exactly feeling enthused about wanting to spend public money on our head of state who only occasionally visits. It's really fundamentally a ridiculous notion to think that the monarchy is in any way relevant to the current Canadian political and cultural landscape. And sure, right, I get that, oh no, it's actually super legally important because of the treaties and it's the crown and that's, the top of how our system works. Like, yeah, but you know what? Europe moved on from this in a great many ways. They just basically replaced the king or queen with, either a president or some other kind of equivalent. So, not exactly a new playbook that we'd have to invent to get rid of this, right? But at the end of the day, it is just so monumentally ridiculous to me that there are people in this country and elsewhere that are, complaining that we aren't spending a big, ungodly amount of money during tough times because some elderly lady who almost never comes here and has any relevance to our lived experiences is celebrating 70 years in an undemocratic position of power. Remind me again why anyone who claims to believe in equality and democracy and, fair representative democracy should in any way care about this just ridiculous nonsense. It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you can't tell, it's definitely what's bothering me today.